listening to America First Radio.
And we're gonna win, win, win. And we're gonna make America great again.
Here is your host, Paul Adams.
Hey, hi there, everyone. This is Paul Adams on America First Radio. And what do we have today? Lots. Mr. Trump was absolutely phenomenal on Jimmy Fallon and also with Dr. Oz. And as usual, his speeches were right on the money. Stadiums were packed. He's definitely in his zone. And did you notice when Jimmy kind of scruffled his hair? You know, that high brow that showed up on Mr. Trump? That looked to me very impressive. It gave him a new look, you know. How can I describe it? It's almost the look of an academic, you know, of a professor. But, you know, the hair over the brow look is more of what we've been seeing over the years, and it's more of a trademark Trump look. Which is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Look, we're not here to debate his look. Mr. Trump is a very, very bright man. And you don't play poker with him because you lose. He will double down and triple down. Okay, so, you know, he conceded a point. He said Obama is born in the United States. He just wants to move on, okay? Just get me in the White House. We'll deal with all that later. At this late stage, really, what difference does it make where Obama was born? I get it. You know, I get it. But you know, for me, now that the subject was brought up again, for me, I'm still kind of curious, so I did a little bit of research and digging. And, you know, my conclusion, it's very obvious. You'll see what my conclusion is. Well, it's a spoiler, you know. He was born in Kenya, folks. But it's not a priority. It only goes to show that Americans can be easily hoodwinked. And I'll make it a point of coming back to Obama later on. For now, America is ablaze. It's in free fall. And most Americans don't even know. They are asleep. You know, they're busy keeping track of football and baseball stats and what their favorite celebrity had for dinner, who married who. What can I say? We no longer have investigative journalism. The media gets its marching orders from the DNC, as WikiLeaks revealed recently, and I'm sure the White House also has something to say about that. Then you have what I call the controlled opposition, or PSYOPs, to discredit the truth. They will throw out a few nuggets of truth, but they'll never reveal the raw truth, you know, the whole picture. They won't give you everything. And Obama, as I've said this before, will do the most damage to America as a lame duck president. You can bank on it. Soros is behind him. He wants America to fail, destroyed. America is on the brink of being decapitated, and I just want to give you some symbolism here so you get it. I just saw a young man on a skateboard the other day with the broadest smile you could possibly imagine. He had a light beard, mid-20s, maybe late 20s. He looked like a young Kevin Costner, you know, blue-eyed, chiseled face, the model look, great big beautiful smile. And I was feeling a little bit, you know, low that day. So when I saw him, he just changed my whole outlook. Because you see, he was on his skateboard, and he was rolling down the sidewalk on his skateboards, and his arms were missing below the elbows, and his legs were missing below the hips. So basically he was balanced on his butt on his skateboard, rolling down with this huge smile, like a sunburst. He forever changed me. I thought, this is America in its direst, darkest, dreariest hour. We have been dismembered. Our media is robotic, controlled, paid and bought for. And as long as we don't have anyone on the watchtowers giving us a true and accurate report of what looms over the horizon, we will continue to be hoodwinked and blindsided. So America, you have got to wake up. Do your part in this election. Wake others up. We need everyone on Twitter warning others, retweeting memes and tweets. You can find me at zip90210 on Twitter. We desperately need more Matt Drudges, more Alex Jones. We need Daily Callers. We need the Benjamin Fulfords, the Paul Joseph Watson. We need more. More people on the watchtower. And maybe this is why I'm here. Maybe this is just doing my small part here. You see, I should not be talking to you. I should have died on July 16th, 2014. When I had a heart attack. I actually had 2 heart attacks, one in July and one in September. So for me, the clock is ticking. You know, they call it aggressive congenital heart disease, so my arteries are clamping up. I guess the progressives are trying to shut me down here. But seriously, I should not be here talking to you. You know, in the first heart attack, I had occlusions in 3 main arteries, the right circumflex, the RCA, and the LDA. These were major blockages. We're talking 100%, 95%, and 85% occlusions. According to the medical academia, that is supposed to have been fatal. So it wasn't my time. God has things for me to do still. Again, the whole point of me sharing this personal information is to underscore the fact that you, no matter what station in life you may be in, you matter. You can accomplish a lot with very little. Your spiritual core will shine when you put your priorities in order. And as we put our spiritual core in order and link up to the source, which is God, okay? I don't know if you know, but the word religion has its origins in the Latin religare, which means to bind or to tie. That's how we get the word ligament. But if you can connect to the source, which is God, you will have the inspiration and the wherewithal and the faith to persevere in America's darkest hour and get Mr. Trump elected. So with that out of the way, let's get to work. Back to Obama. If I was presenting my case to a jury, I'm not a trial lawyer by any stretch of the imagination, but have been in investment sales for 22 years. You know, project finance, private equity deals, where you get 20 minutes to convince someone to send you $50,000 over the phone without meeting them face to face, you know, that kind of thing. So I know the difference between a trial close and a tie down, a takeaway, and all these terms we use when we're in sales. If I was making my case to you and was preparing my pitch on Obama, here's how I would do it. First, I would get him to accuse himself that he's arming the enemy and therefore must be removed from office. And he has done that. He has come up on camera and has said in so many words that he is arming ISIL. Here he is. You can listen to him.
Was moving too slowly, but the fall of Ramadi has galvanized the Iraqi government. So with the additional steps I ordered last month, we're speeding up training of ISIL forces, including volunteers from Sunni tribes.
For me, that's case closed, Generals can also testify about him funding and arming ISIS. So Obama needs to be arrested for treason, period. Okay, period. Here is a little blurb I wrote, a motion that I published on a JPEG file because it's too big to tweet. Now, I've already talked about this. I've already mentioned it. But if I'm repeating myself here, it's because we are at DEFCON 5. America is ablaze. America is in free fall, folks. Mr. George Soros is hoodwinking us again. Socialism is at our doorstep if we don't get this right. You see, if you walk into a building, okay, and the fire alarm goes on but then goes off, you think there is no problem. You don't have to walk out of the building. You take the elevator, you go into your business. But if the alarm stays on and you hear someone come over the loudspeaker giving instructions for you to vacate, you vacate. You leave, you exit. And the problems we are incurring right now have no alarms going off. All the news outlets, and I'm including alternative sources here. The problem is that the alarm doesn't stay on. It shuts off. It comes on and off. It's on one week, off the next week. It needs to stay on. We have got to keep the alarm on all the time until we are no longer facing a clear and present danger. And this is why I'm going to have to start a new daily program here to keep the alarm sounding loud and clear. It'll be a very short show, daily show, maybe 5-minute show. I'm not sure what to call it yet. Anyway, you get the drift. Here's the motion to arrest Obama. This is what I wrote back in June 19th, 2016. We are done with Obama. He can't remain in office one more day. We don't want him impeached. We want him arrested and tried for treason as per Article 3, Section 3 of the Constitution. It takes only 2 witnesses to accuse him of treason. We have dozens of witnesses and no lack of evidence. No grand jury is needed to determine if he has committed a high crime. Neither the House nor the Senate need to be involved. Obama has stomped on the Constitution, has fast-tracked treasonous treaties, and signed unconstitutional executive orders. We, the people, will decide his punishment by plebiscite. That's right, we're invoking Amendments 9 and 10 and fast-tracking this. We are overruling Article 3, Section 3, the last clause that gives Congress the power to determine the punishment. As the employer of this treasonous commander-in-chief, we want him arrested and court-martialed forthwith. As per Amendments 9 and 10, we, the people, reserve rights and powers which come into effect when our employee, the lame House and Senate, has failed us. We are left without other recourse in trying to establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. Our government has failed us miserably. We have an ISIS collaborator posing as President of the United States, who is nothing more than a Marxist tool trying to destroy this nation. And we cannot wait for him to leave office, for his term to expire, or for the next terrorist attack. He will most likely do the greatest damage as a lame duck president. Arrest Barack Hussein Obama and get him into court for trial. The people, as employers of this government, demand it, order it. Mess with the American people, and you'll be messing with God himself, from whom we derive our liberty. It takes only 2 witnesses to initiate the process as per Article 3, Section 3. which says, "No person shall be convicted of treason unless on the testimony of two witnesses to the same overt act or on confession in open court." No need for a petition or for impeachment proceedings. America will have hell to pay if Obama is not arrested, tried, and convicted. Get it done. Get it done now with all due haste. Signed, Paul Adams. Why isn't Lou Dobbs and Sean Hannity sounding the alarm? Why is no constitutional expert, veteran, judge acting on this? The latest I read is that the Sergeant at Arms has the power to arrest. How is Judge Napolitano or Judge Janine Pirro weighing in on this? Why is no one taking up the cause and arresting this imposter, Obama, who will do the greatest harm before his term expires? Why isn't Alex Jones, Matt Drudge, Mike Savage sounding the alarm and calling for Obama's arrest? Come on, guys. You know what needs to be done. We can't just be entertaining people. Why am I the lone voice in the wilderness here? There's dozens of patriots that are for his arrest. You should see the replies on this tweet that I tweeted to arrest Obama. Here are some of them. What are we doing to make this happen? Another one. I'm ready to sign my name and accuse Obama of treason. Another one. What the hell are we waiting for? Handcuff now. 110,000 are coming in. 1.7 billion is going to ISIS. Do it now. Another one. Well said, Paul. Sounds like we need to pull a Gomer citizen's arrest. A citizen's arrest. Nip it in the bud. Another one. Who can get this done and started? Another one. You're absolutely correct with this. Sign me up. And it goes on and on like this. Tons of people expressing similar sentiments. Look. This country, this nation, is choice. It was formed as an experiment for the people to own their government. So the government is of, by, and for the people. Folks, don't ever forget it. If you do not agree with the motion to arrest Obama, you are part of the problem. Okay? So that's part one on Obama, the part that has the most teeth. Now, if I was to argue the birther issue, if you want hard evidence that Obama was born in Kenya, the best I can do is a video clip. You can find it on YouTube. It's called Barack Obama Admits He Was Born in Kenya. So let's hear it.
People say that maybe I'm not an American citizen. And some people said, he has a forged birth certificate. Well, first of all, it's true, I'm not American. I was not born in Hawaii. I wasn't born in the United States of America. I come from Kenya.
So the detractors say that this is a doctored video, it's fake, etc. It's pretty hard to convince me it's fake. I mean, you can see him actually mouthing the words. So let's put that aside. How about if we hear from Michelle Obama herself? Okay, here she is.
Barack has led by example. When we took our trip to Africa and visited his home country in Kenya, we took a public HIV test for the very point of showing folks in Kenya that there is nothing to be embarrassed about in getting tested.
Well, all I can say is there's nothing to be embarrassed about getting vetted for the office of President of the United States. Step up to the plate. Get yourself vetted. Unseal your records. So that's not good enough for some people. You know, these two audio clips, they're just not enough. How about we discuss his fake birth certificate that the White House posted on the White House website, which proved to be a forgery, which Alex Jones and Sheriff Arpaio proved forensically that it was forged. And then what happened? Well, here's what happened after that incident. Let's hear from the Truth Girls on YouTube. Here's her take on it.
And then this came out the other day. Obama officially ineligible.
They ruled that for his next election?
All right, here's what happened. It says, lawyers representing the current sitting president of the United States of America have been forced, under penalty of perjury, to admit that the long-form birth certificate presented by the White House in April of 2011 is a total forgery. They admitted it in court. But this was in New Jersey to determine if he was eligible for the ballot. But get this, here's the excuse they give for why he should still run, even though they admit the birth certificate's a forgery.
Really? Oh my God.
Yeah, they say, according to this article, it says his attorneys literally made the argument during a hearing on April 10th that because the document was so obviously faked and could not possibly be considered proof of citizenship, the document itself should not be allowed as evidence in the case.
So, since there is no long form or short form certificate, and the one posted online was a forgery, then I think that puts it to rest. Wouldn't you think? But then we can also add circumstantial evidence. There's articles dating back as far as 2004 that called Obama the Kenyan-born senator. Then we have his literary agent producing a brochure which said he was born in Kenya. Here is some more evidence, which is probably not admissible because it's hearsay, but hey, let's roll with it. A lady by the name of Mia Maria Pope, who was a high school friend of Barack Obama in Hawaii during the 70s, says that Obama identified himself as a foreigner in high school and was known as a crack-smoking homosexual. Objection, that has nothing to do with his place of birth. Overruled. The fact that he was branding himself as a foreigner and not an American is material. Okay, one more factoid and I'm done with this birther issue. A former classmate of Obama from his college years came forward to say that in 1981, when he shared a room with Obama, then Obama told him he was actually born in Mombasa, Kenya. 3 to 5 more of his former classmates also say they heard Obama himself say it. Yeah, so some bones to chew on here. You know, if we could only get these witnesses subpoenaed. And where are the Democrats to rescue the Republic? You know, where are the Republicans to rescue the Republic? You know, this has been floating around now for so long. All this information has been floating around for so long. Have you had enough of the old jackass and elephant routine? We need a lion at the helm, okay? With the courage of a lion to lead America. We've got to do it, folks. We've got to elect Mr. Trump. We've got to watch out we have to look at our blind spots. The biggest blind spot right now that really concerns me is the election steal. If DHS is going to be monitoring the election, God help us. I hope Mr. Trump and his team has some plans to monitor DHS, because this is a non-starter. Okay, we've seen this kind of theater before. We've seen it when Mitt Romney was campaigning against Ron Paul. Ron Paul was packing the stadiums. Who won? Mitt Romney. We saw it with Bernie Sanders. Who was back in the stadiums? It wasn't Hillary. It was Bernie. Who won? Hillary. Okay? So, we don't want to see a repeat. We don't want to go there. It'll be so messy if that happens again. I am convinced of that. So let's go on to the next heading. Okay, what is it here? Next heading is don't be nice to monsters. Okay, let's see. Don't be nice to monsters who camouflage themselves as humanity's benefactors. You know, they publicize their 3 good deeds and then they chop up humanity with a hatchet. Take, for example, public enemy number 1. One named Georgie Schwartz, a.k.a. George Soros. Why is Georgie still on our soil? Vladimir Putin has a worldwide arrest warrant for this aberration of humanity who once tanked the British pound sterling and almost brought Britain to its knees. Now, DC Leaks is exposing his manipulation of elections worldwide. He is also funding Black Lives Matter. Don't forget, this guy, Georgie Schwartz, he was a Nazi sympathizer. He was a traitor to the Jews. Why is this still a free man? Why aren't the Jews up in arms over this traitor? Where is AIPAC? Where's ADL? George Soros, in an interview with a national paper called The Australian, said, America, as the center of the globalized financial markets, was sucking up the savings of the world. Destroying America will be the culmination of my life's work. In 2009, there's a document, confidential document, by Soros, that calls the Obama administration a make-or-break moment for transformative change. Also, the hacktivist group DC Leaks released over 2,000 files from Open Society Foundation and other source groups last Saturday. Among other things, we learned that Open Society was started in 1993 as a way to spread his wealth to progressive causes. And using Open Society as a conduit, Soros has given more than $7 billion to a who's who of left-wing groups, including Acorn, Apollo Alliance, National Council of La Raza, Tides Foundation, Huffington Post, Southern Poverty Law Center, Sojourners, People for the American Way, Planned Parenthood, and the National Organization for Women. We learned that Soros once said that removing President George W. Bush from office in 2004 was the central focus of my life. He put up $23.58 million to various 527 groups dedicated to defeating Bush. He wants more power for groups such as the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund, even while saying the U.S. role in the IMF should be downsized. Soros is a financial backer of Media Matters for America, a progressive media watchdog group that hyperventilates over any conservative view that makes it into the mainstream media. David Brock, now its founder, has openly declared war on Fox News, telling Politico that the group was mounting guerrilla warfare and sabotage against the cable news channel and would try to disrupt the commercial interests of owner Rupert Murdoch. That is a very odd mission for a 501c3 tax-exempt educational foundation that is barred from participating in partisan political activity. Wouldn't you say, Soros? Soros has been a major founder of MoveOn.org, a progressive advocacy group and political action committee that raises millions for liberal candidates. The Center for American Progress is headed by John Podesta, White House Chief of Staff under President Clinton. The Center for American Progress has been instrumental in providing progressive talking points and policy positions for the Obama administration. Mr. Soros is involved in environmental extremism. Then, let's see, former Obama Greens job czar Van Jones and his leftist environmental ideas have been funded by Soros money at these groups: the Ella Baker Center, Green for All, the Center for American Progress, and the Apollo Alliance. Soros also funds the Climate Policy Initiative to address global warming and gave Friends of the Earth money to integrate a climate equity perspective in the presidential transition. America Coming Together. Soros gave nearly $20 million to this 527 group with the express purpose of defeating President Bush. America Coming Together was fined $775,000 by the Federal Election Commission for violations of various federal campaign finance laws. And we learn about his currency manipulations. A large part of Soros' multi-billion-dollar fortune has come from manipulating currencies. During the 1997 Asian financial crisis, Malaysian Prime Minister Mahathir bin Mohamad accused him of bringing down the nation's currency through his trading activities. In Thailand, he was called an economic war criminal. He's known as the man who broke the Bank of England. He dumped 10 billion sterling, forcing the devaluation of the currency, while he gained $1 billion profit. Soros is also delusional. In his own words, he said, quote, "I admit that I have always harbored an exaggerated view of my self-importance, to put it bluntly. I fancied myself as some kind of god, or I carried some other potent messianic fantasies with me from childhood, which I felt I had to control. Otherwise, I might end up in the loony bin." End of quote. So much for Soros. Why is he still a free man? Where is AIPAC, Amnesty International? Where's ADL? Where's CARE? Where are they? Where are they when you need them? Where the hell are they? Folks, don't hold your breath. They ain't showing up. You see, they don't want America to exist. They don't. They're just using America for their own gain, their own agendas. They ain't showing up. It's in their interest for America to collapse. You know, they write books like After America, for example. For them, America is a bygone conclusion. How is this Nazi collaborator, Jewish betrayer, this Fariter, if I got the Yiddish pronunciation right, Fariter is the equivalent of traitor, how is it that he's still enjoying sunshine? Why is he not locked up? Did he buy his freedom? We gotta wake up. We gotta wake up. We gotta wake up, America. Too much football. Too many sports. Too much American Idol. Dancing with the Stars. Sitcoms. Soap operas. Too many distractions. You gotta wake up. You've gotta stop shopping as much. You gotta figure out what's important here. This is our last chance to get it right. Do you understand? Do you understand? This is the time to make your voice heard. Those who are not helping us are against us. You can tell who your enemies are when they look on in complete silence as you're getting beat up. Let me repeat that. You can tell who your enemies are when they look on in complete silence as you're getting beat up, pummeled. Silence is consent. Acquiescence is endorsement. And right now, we have a lot of people who are silent and a lot of people acquiescing. By the way, anyone who is not condemning Hillary Clinton for her hideous, contemptible, dastardly remark about Americans being deplorable, anyone who will not condemn her is in league with her. And we know who you are. That includes you, Joe Biden, and Tim Kaine. So don't even think of taking her place if she bails out of the race for health reasons. Don't even think about it, Joe. You will be pummeled so hard on Twitter. Globalist Joe, Obama's right-hand man, who if elected would be a third-term Obama, who in a Clinton rally pointed to the person who holds the nuclear codes, Mr. Joe Biden, the chief executive putz, Joe Biden. These are the monsters that want to bleed America dry to enrich themselves and their families. We have no more time to listen to their lies, to their contempt for America. George Soros, you need to lead by example, and you need to leave first, and everybody else will follow. George, you need to do this soon before God recalls you to give you a one-way ticket to hell. Seriously, George, you got to pack it in and go for a very long vacation. Okay? Stop playing God. Moving on. So the big topic is a child care issue that Mr. Trump just announced. And people are now saying, aha, we knew it. He's a liberal. He's a socialist. He's nothing but a rhino. Now he's showing his true colors. Let's back up a minute here, okay? Hold your horses. Chill. Take a deep breath. To me, it's not a huge deal. Let me explain. You see, I don't look at the economy through the liberal conservative lens or the socialist capitalist lens. To me, there are no leftist or far-right economic policies. There are only policies that work for the American people. And I keep going back to comparing a nation to a household. You know, there are some immutable principles if you run a household that you just can't get around. No matter how you try, unless you're a criminal or like winning the lottery every month, there are basic sound ethical principles that keep society glued together and your family out of jail. Like you can't spend more than what you bring in, okay? That's number one. Number two, you can't splurge when you're not covering your basic essentials, your living expenses. You can't risk capital you can't afford to lose. And you can't be bailing out others when you are in a hole. So America is like a household. It's like a huge familia, big family, extended family, lots of cousins, uncles. You ever seen a family that has a rich uncle who's always driving around in a big fancy convertible? He's always hitting the rest of the family for a small loan, right? Or for an investment. We have them here in America. They're called the banks, the multinational corporations, the too big to fail robber barons. Any future cash flow can be traded. Which takes me to the carbon tax before I get back to Mr. Trump's initiative, which carbon tax is tied to global warming, which is blamed on Western nations. And correct me if I'm wrong here. I'm no economist, okay? I'm just using my noggin a little bit here. Carbon taxes seem to me like a future cash flow. And ching-ching, if implemented, it could be packaged by the big banks as a derivative, which can be traded. A future cash flow derivative, discounted and indexed, just like the subprime mortgages were converted into derivatives and traded. until they became toxic and could not be traded any longer. They have quadrillions of toxic assets sitting in their books, these banks. Now, the carbon tax cash flows, that would be like taking a quantum leap. We're talking, forget quadrillions, we're talking maybe pentillion, sextillion. It could be as big as a centillion in profits that carbon taxes could pull in if they were traded as derivatives. And don't forget that there's also, and this is going to be very out there, on the far side, conspiratorial, but hey, if you do your research, you'll find out that there is some weather engineering going on. Yes, it's called HAARP, HAARP. Look it up, do some research. So think of all the offshore accounts that the carbon tax derivatives could fill. So these banks, they threaten the little people with anarchy, meltdown, financial meltdown. If you don't bail us out, that was back in 2008, if you don't bail us out, the whole country is going to crash. The economy is going to tank. The stock market will crash. There will be bloodshed in the streets. That was their leverage. And we bailed them out. The people bailed them out. Now, Iceland, they didn't buy into that BS. Okay, Iceland was the only country that didn't buy their con, and instead they jailed the banksters. And Iceland is now in good health economically. So when you run a household, it's just a fact of life that you can't be bailing out rich Uncle Jerry or Cousin Vinny when you're upside down on your mortgage, when you don't have a job, when your bills are piling up. You simply can't bail them out. You can't keep investing $1,000 into Cousin Vinny's latest venture. It would be irresponsible. And it's always $1,000 up front, and then they come back, 3-4 months later, and they tell you, hey, we've got new management in the company now. We found traces of gold. We are negotiating our first contract. We need another $50,000. We can get it back to you in a year, with 20% returns. Wow. And you buy into it. That's what we do. As I get older, I have very low tolerance for BS at this point in my life. Any kind of BS. Back to the Uncle Jerry and Cousin Vinny analogy. A nation is like a household. Where the analogy breaks down is that America is also a central bank, which incidentally is not really part of the U.S. government. It's not even remotely associated with the Constitution, the 50 states, Congress, or it's called federal just to fool the masses, to make you think it's part of the U.S. Treasury, which is not. It's not. The Treasury is one thing, the Fed is another. It's a privately owned bank, unaccountable to anyone. Even Alan Greenspan explained that in an interview. We also have what's called a fractional reserve system, the banking system, where for every dollar on their books, the banks can lend out $9. Correction. The proper terminology would be create money out of thin air. So they create $9 out of thin air. It's pretty good business. Then they have their zero coupon bonds that they trade at the top tier bank level. Huge profits from those. Don't want to go into that. They can make money if they want to. You and I can't do that. We can't print money. We can't issue a bond and see it trade many times over. We'd go to jail if we tried to pass off funny money. Only banks can print money. The Federal Reserve can print money. Fiat currency that is backed by nothing. Well, it's backed by oil. It's an awkward deal whereby we provide protection to the Saudis and they in turn use our dollar for global oil trade. That's why it's called the petrodollar. But that's another topic. That's where the Saudis have us, by the cojones. But maybe we got them too, right? Multicultural Saudi Arabia has zero number of Christian churches and synagogues. is our ally, the country that's exporting jihad to avoid its own Saudi spring. Well, the Saudis are a huge donor to the Clinton Foundation, all right? And they were best friends with the Bushes, especially Papa Bush. Oh, yeah. And we go way back with the Saudis. Because, our dollar is propped by oil. And why do you think Saddam Hussein had to go? He was thinking of trading oil in euros. Oh, that would have tanked the U.S. dollar. So, after we had propped him up, armed him, he wanted to sell oil in euros. This was a huge petrodollar issue. They had to make up a story about weapons of mass destruction. And the same thing happened to Gaddafi. He wanted to create a gold-backed currency in Africa to trade oil with. He didn't want to use the dollar any longer. That would have replaced the dollar. And when a currency like the dollar is no longer in demand, well, when it's no longer in demand in such huge quantities, you get hyperinflation. The currency loses its value. And that means a worthless dollar can buy in America other goods, other imported goods and services from other countries. And that would tank the American economy, you see. So that's why Saddam and Gaddafi had to go. They had no weapons of mass destruction other than euro dollars to trade oil with. Okay, so bottom line is you and I can't print money out of thin air. It's called forgery. We end up in jail. You want to have a good job? You want to have some money in life? Here's the formula. You go to school, you get a degree and a good job. You don't cheat, and you get ahead in life. So what does this have to do with Trump's child care initiative? I'm coming to that. You see, there are times when a household is broke and busted, times when Uncle Jerry has borrowed way too much from you because you were stupid. You were an idiot to lend him the money. And there are times when you lose your job, and when the economy tanks and you lose your job, that's a double whammy. So you go bust. So what happens then? Well, you go to your family, cap in hand, and you try to get them to bail you out, right? That's what families do. They bail each other out. They will look at you funny, maybe, call you a fool for investing with Uncle Jerry, so you may have to go to your friends. Or you may have to go to a charity, like Salvation Army, or a local church, or work 2 or 3 part-time jobs. You may end up selling all your stuff, your home. You may end up on the street. You may end up living in your car. And now you want to bounce back, but you have small children. You have to somehow pay for the child care. Who's gonna take care of your kids when you want to bounce back? You either have to find somebody who will do it for free, or you have to borrow the money somehow. So lo and behold, Mr. Trump steps into the picture. Now you can afford to go back to work. The expense is deductible, 100%. So the question is this socialism? Compared to what? It's relative. Compared to what? Corporate welfare? Compared to Marxism? Compared to Venezuela, Cuba, Zimbabwe? Compared to what? Let's compare it to corporate welfare, to put it into some kind of perspective here, okay? Because anytime you have safety nets that are larger than what GDP can handle, some folks, whether corporate or the average Joe, some folks will fall through the net. But what if the corporate welfare also coincided with corporate inversion, where corporations send their profits offshore, then report them to the IRS? Now, how is that? Now, how is that for a perfect con, right? This is corporate welfare on steroids. But hey, the middle class needs to be taxed to make up the difference. And hey, we can't have whiners here. The middle class needs to pull its own weight. This is the price of citizenship. If you don't pay taxes, well, you're just not being patriotic. Really? Really? I told you, this is a no-holds-barred forum. Really, since when are the people not entitled to keep all of the fruit of their labors? Who says? The bought and paid for Congress? The banks who created the Federal Reserve Bank system with its attending IRS? And another thing, what would happen should we ever have a surplus in this country? Do you know that there's a lot of countries that have no income tax? You know, the Bahamas, where I lived for a year, has no income tax or corporate tax, no capital gains or inheritance tax. Let's talk about corporate welfare, which employs people who are then, shall we say, indirectly on welfare. Should we discuss the subsidized industries, the too big to fail industries that suck the life out of the middle class when they go bust, like the too big to fail banks in 2008? So the Trump Child Care Initiative is socialist how? So let me put it this way, because maybe it'll make more sense. You see, the middle class bailed out the too big to fail banks, okay? We were duped into electing a Marxist who crashed our economy over the last 8 years. Food stamps and unemployment are at record levels. The Dow Jones, it's artificially propped by quantitative easing to make it look like we have an economy. You should check the Baltic Dry Index if you want to see what the world economy is doing. It went from 11,600 back in June, July of 2008 to 666 by December 2008, and it's still hovering around that level. It's sunk as low as 450. But, let's not go there. It's propped up, the Dow Jones, to make it look like we have an economy, to keep the greedy investors around the world smiling, because we can't let fear sit in, you see. If the market dives, what's going to happen worldwide? Other markets will crash. So we keep it propped up. We pump money into it, and it's way up there, over 18,000. Wow. With record high levels of unemployment and food stamp recipients. And another thing. We also funded the wars, okay? We funded wars. We didn't just bail out the banks. We funded the wars. These were not just legitimate wars like World War II or Korea. These were wars for profit. Profits enjoyed by the corporations like Halliburton, Lockheed, the Carlyle Group, hundreds of thousands of small private contractors. We were essentially exporting war, and we borrowed to finance it. We were exporting death. Death? 500,000 dead children in Iraq. You think if somebody killed 500,000 of our children here in the United States, you think we might get irate a little bit? You think we want to maybe pay back? Do you think the Iraqi war and the incursions in Libya and Syria have created some blowback? Do you think maybe just a tad? Is it within the realm of possibility? Is it plausible that people around the world may hate us because of the death that we have exported? That endless war on terror, All the while, we did arm and fund ISIS, but that's so that a few at the top could profit at the expense of the many. And of course, there's a whole thing about destabilizing the Middle East so that Israel can, have a buffer. And I don't want to go into that. Let's stick to the economics here. So we bailed out the banks. We funded the wars. And Obama has introduced Obamacare to destroy full-time jobs. So we have all these people now working 2 or 3 part-time jobs. And on top of that, we exported all our manufacturing jobs to China and Mexico. So here we are, beaten, robbed blind, tossed over a barrel, and we are told by Hillary Clinton in one of her speeches, quote, "We can't let all the hard work and progress we've achieved over the last 7.5 years be torn away." What damn progress is she talking about? We are floating and shipwrecked, looking for something to hang on to float on to. And all we need is a little help just to get a leg up, just to breathe a little lighter for a little while to keep us afloat. And you think that the child care tax plan is a socialist program? You lunatics are calling him a socialist? The same lunatics who want a carbon tax and TPP that will give multinational corporations the right to sue the U.S. government. Why? Because the U.S. government may have created barriers to entry and may have regulated them too much, so they can then totally bankrupt America with TPP lawsuits. And you're calling this child care plan a socialist plan? Look, we bailed out the too big to fail banks. It's time for the too big to fail banks and plutocrats and multinationals to bail out the middle class. Because if we don't put America first and save the very people who bailed out the fat cats on Wall Street, there will be no more America. In Israel, little brother Israel will be in the toilet. You get it? Yeah, I'll go a step further because we need to nullify the national debt. It's odious. The people never wanted this. The people were duped into incurring it by fighting phony wars. What are we looking at with veteran benefits over the next 10 years? $6 trillion just for the Iraqi war. So the debt was incurred fraudulently. Needs to be nullified. Let the banks eat it. Let IMF, BIS eat it. Time to step up and bail out the people. It's now the people's turn. And while we're at it, can we loosen up some capital for Main Street here? We really need to turn on the money sprinklers to get the economy sprouting again at the local level. We need to ease regulations on community banks so they can start lending money again to regular folks. We need to be flexible. Blessed are the flexible, for they shall not be bent out of shape. And like Mr. Trump has repeatedly pointed out, we need to bring them jobs back. That means tariffs, deregulation. That has to be the backbone of our recovery. And that's why Mr. Trump's message makes so much sense. We also need to take care of our veterans. That's number one. So as we bounce back, the U.S. will again become the preeminent economy, the massive engine which will perhaps overheat and bring back higher interest rates. But, at this point in time, we'll deal with it when we'll deal with it. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Anything is better than what we have right now. The bailout of the middle class doesn't have to last forever. Again, we need to be flexible. We need to adjust our sails depending on the direction of the winds. There is no socialist or capitalist policies when you're in a household going through the ups and downs. You just do what you got to do. You are implementing realistic policies. Ultimately, it's about people leading productive lives. People who stay home and do nothing will amount to nothing. We were all born on this planet to develop our God-given talents. Right, Hillary? Isn't that what you always say? So why resort to labels like liberal and conservative policies when every family and every nation must tack into the wind? We don't have to flail in the wind every 4 years. figure out, do we go liberal, do we go conservative, do we go left, do we go right? You got to do what you got to do. So enough with the labels. There are only sound, realistic policies. Our nation right now is on target to become Greece in 7-10 years, okay? You know what the debt to GDP ratio is for Greece? It's 170%. We are right now at 104% debt to GDP ratio. So some say Hillary has a faulty economic plan. No. Hillary doesn't have a faulty economic plan. Hillary is just plain and simply flawed. Physically not fit. Morally not fit. Ethically not fit. Everything she spews out is a fat lie. These are the same promises Obama made, pure bunk, and people are buying into this theater, this scripted, focus group, scrubbed, earpiece-fed lines to get people to clap and holler at a rally. Wake up, America. Let's put this whore of Babylon in the same jail as Obama. Which reminds me, we can't let this show end without the ritual. You know the portion when we pummel Hillary into the consistency of talcum powder. Today I'm going to allow my surrogate Lionel from the Lionel Nation to do the honors, okay? Because I'm losing my voice.
That's how Americans vote. I like Hillary because she's a woman, and she's done a lot for us, and she'll help the LGBTQIA group, even though she was against gay marriage and then changed her mind. Even though she's a Wall Street shill, a puppet, and a warmonger, she's progressive. She loves women and gay people, even though she took millions from Saudi Arabia, who of course chop people's heads off and hang gay people and won't even let women drive. So, sure, and she never compromised her position as Secretary of State when it came to Saudi Arabia, even though they paid her so much money. She would never do that. Of course not. Why would you ever think she'd do that? Come on. It's Hillary Clinton. Sure, she's a wonderful person, and she loves women's rights. She does. It's true. Too bad there were all those women who came forth and said that Bill Clinton raped them violently. It just so happens that Hillary Clinton was also alleged to have not only hidden it, not only covered it up, but intimidated these people, almost acting like an accessory after the fact, obstruction of justice, if you will. Sure, this is Hillary Clinton. This is the same Clinton family who stole a bunch of stuff from the White House. Talk about Aunt B. No, Aunt B wouldn't have done that. Excuse me. Think Hooterville. Think Hee Haw. Think Junior Samples. Think Mon Pa Kettle. Okay, Marjorie Main. Think about that. Stealing stuff from the White House, then they had to return it because, oops, we didn't know that. Oh, you mean that James Madison painting? The one that was bolted? The one that says on loan from this... Oh, I didn't know that. I'm exaggerating about that. But that's who they are.
Thank you, Lionel. It's been a slice. I really think that Mr. Trump showing his lighthearted side and, unscripted, natural, no posturing side of him is very healthy for him and for America. We need to relax. We need to be genuine. We need to be forthcoming. We need to be honest. We need to put away the monsters that have torn this country apart for so many decades. Till next time, God bless America.